Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all for this extra special week for LEAF. This is, of course, the start of Zoom into LEAF Marque, where we will be celebrating all the wonderful work of our LEAF Marque growers, culminating on Friday with the launch of our next Global Impacts Report. So we're very happy for you all to be joining us today. Each day we will be running a surgery about a specific subject related to LEAF Marque. Today we will be talking about leading from the field, perspectives, practices and payoffs. And I'm delighted to be joined by Ian Collison, who's a partner at Collison Sons, and also by Simon Derrick, who is Head of Sustainability at Blue Skies. And of course, we are delighted, of course, to have Caroline Drummond, our CEO, with us as well. So thank you all very much for joining us, and we hope you can join us for as many of these sessions as possible this week. Just to give you all a bit of an idea, for those of you who normally attend our LEAF surgeries, they usually last 40 minutes, but for this week, they will be lasting an hour because we've got lots of exciting things to be talking about. And if you have a question for any of our panelists, you can submit it by the chat function. If you just hover at the bottom of your screen and click chat, you can submit your questions to our panelists. And if you can say if the question is for one panelist specifically, or if it's for everyone, that would be great. And you will remain anonymous, and we will try and answer as many questions as we can within the time frame. Before we get started though, and because this is an extra special week and some extra special surgeries, we're going to launch a couple of polls during this surgery. And I will be trying to, and I seem to be having an issue with polls already. That's not a good start. I think what we'll do, I will try and get this back up and running, but I'll now hand over to Caroline, who will introduce everyone. So over to you, Caroline.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Sam. And again, welcome everybody. Really exciting week, and there'll be lots to hear from producers, people that we're working with in the development of LEAF Marque and the Global Impacts Report launch, obviously on Friday. And if that wasn't enough, we've also got LEAF Online Farm Sunday on Sunday as well. So what a week for us. So we're really very excited. I'm so pleased to see Ian and Simon here. Ian, you'll be delighted. These are your wonderful tulips, and they are stunning. Simon, I would have had some of your produce, but as always, it's so delicious. I'm afraid it went by sort of Sunday evening. So your mango and pineapple and coconut is always fantastic. And it'll be great to hear a little bit more from you about that in a few minutes. I think today, as Sam has said, this is about leading from the field, perspectives, practices and payoffs. And it's just framing a little bit about why is sustainable farming important? And I think, 65% of millennials take a photograph of their food before they eat it. When you start looking at some of the changes that have happened over the last year during lockdown, 61% of people said they would change their lifestyles, particularly to be more healthier. 31 have already made those changes. And when you look at the generation Z or Z and millennials, that's 70% and 66% as well want to be more healthier. And in addition to that, we have already seen a 34% increase in people wanting to buy sustainable food. That was demonstrated from the Good Housekeeping. So what does sustainable food mean? We've already got, it's going to be important from a perspective of obviously the EU. The Farm to Fork is really pushing and driving for sustainability and sustainable labeling. I've just mentioned it's important to us as individuals. It's important from the retailer perspective. It's important from the farmer perspective to demonstrate not only they've got a robust and resilient business, but also in the marketplace. And of course, it's important for the planet in terms of driving our response to more sustainable farming. So what does a good label need? It needs to be credible, robust, traceable with transparency. And obviously for us, that has been the critical area of a more circular approach to agriculture through integrated farm management. Less leaky systems that are driving practical, realistic and achievable, but stretching targets. And I think that in itself is very important. And of course, within that engagement is governance, adding value, inspiring, addressing impact, and trying to identify the win-wins. Now, there won't always be win-wins, but certainly it's important that the wins are stronger in terms of really getting the balance right. And so for Leafmark, it is an independent assurance system with good governance and rigor. And of course, we have, and it's lovely to see many of you from our technical advisory board committee here as well. We build on Global Gap on a global scale and Red Tractor here in the UK. It's critical, and it always has been for us, to be a global standard, to drive sustainability, to learn from others across the globe, but also ensure that the standards that are being imported are meeting the same rigorous requirements of our farmers as well. We are really pleased that we're ICL full compliance, and that means that we have very strong standard setting, impacts assessments, and the assurance and oversight. It provides an opportunity for farmers to communicate their environmental sustainability credentials, and for consumers, it provides us as an opportunity to buy into more environmental sustainable produce, as obviously represented not only by the Leafmark logo, but also in some retailers and brands, white labels as well. And in addition to that, from a government point of view, we're also increasingly now seeing earned recognition for farmers that are Leafmark certified here in the UK. It's demonstrating these businesses are less risky. They are more resilient and more critical. So, this is one of the framing for why Leafmark is so important to us. And I think before I just quickly go over to Ian, Sam, did you want to try the poll? Are we going to... You're on mute, Sam, sorry.
I think we're still having a few technical issues, so I think just carry on for now. I will persevere, sorry.
No. So, Ian, lovely to see you, and really, really pleased. So, just a few questions for you to kick off, and if you could unmute yourself, that would be fantastic. You've been Leafmark certified for a number of years. How has it changed from your business? And tell us how, well, actually a little bit about your business to start off with, and why the framing of integrated farm management works for you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, well, firstly, a little bit about what we do then. So we're a seasonal cut flower grower in the UK. So tulips at the moment, as you can see behind Caroline there. And then through the year, we move on to various other seasonal products. We've also got a small arable farm, but cut flowers is the main driver of our business. So yeah, I mean, that's a little bit about what we do. We're based in Norfolk, and we sell mostly into UK multiple retailers, so supermarket customers mostly. And yeah, as you say, we've been Leafmark accredited now for, I'm not sure, probably about 10 years, I think. And yeah, I mean, how has it changed? How has it changed our business? How has it changed the day-to-day running? Well, I'd like firstly to say, really, it hasn't meant too dramatic a change. It hasn't, been a sea change in what we do. It's more about formalising and recording what we do, and embedding best practice, really. A lot of the steps that we take for Leaf are things that we would probably be looking to do anyway, but it's a case of really driving that forward, and embedding them within the business, and assessing them on an annual basis. It's very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, but it's good every year at Leafmark audit to just take stock of what we've done and what we can do, how we can improve, and it drives sort of incremental improvements, really. So yeah, it's really that's what it's been about for us. What has it meant for the business? It's there's definite benefits for us. Some of them are harder to quantify than others. It's definitely something that helps when we're dealing with our retail customers. It's something they like, and it's also been very good in probably what an international diplomat would call soft power, both locally in the local community, but also with customers. So it generates goodwill and understanding in the local environment. Taking part in Open Farm Sunday and involving local people with hedge planting, putting up notice boards. It's all positive, and it involves the local community in what we do, because we are a relatively niche industry, even in this area where cut flower growing is traditionally quite strong. There's a lot of people who live locally, particularly people who've moved into the area in the last few years, who've got no idea what we do day to day and why it's important. So that's a big thing, and also that soft power probably extends to the customers as well. even if customers don't insist on us having Leafmark to supply them, which some of them do, some of them don't. But it's a definite factor in their sourcing decisions, and I think we're thought of as a safe pair of hands, a safe option. Usually, if they want a case study or someone to talk to, they know the fact that we're Leafmark means they can come to us, and there's going to be no gremlins.
No, that's very reassuring. I like the soft power approach. So I think that's a really it's a nice sort of underlying sort of framework. And I guess from your perspective, what's been the greatest achievement that you feel that you've delivered? Obviously, you're well regarded. You do some fantastic Open Farm Sunday events.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things difficult really to sort of pick out one, but I'd say probably looking at accreditation, probably one of the greatest things that we're probably most proud of is, I think in the last 6 years we've reduced carbon emissions per stem by 36% over 6 years by looking at intensification in a sustainable way, so moving into more sustainable power sources, particularly heating. We use a lot of heating, we use quite a lot of energy, full stop. And yeah, just driving efficiency, really improving processes, making the business as streamlined as it possibly can be. We're dealing in big numbers, we have to be efficient, but there's always steps we can take to drive that forward. So I think that's probably the one that stands out the most.
I mean, that is amazing. So and to be able, two things actually. One, I mean, 36% reduction is a really high figure. And secondly, actually being able to measure per stem, that in itself is really dramatic. So can you sort of dig a little bit deeper on that? Because it'd be really interesting to know.
Yes, I mean, as I say, we do use a lot of energy, a lot of power for heating. Obviously, we're growing well, tulips particularly. We're growing them out of season. We're forcing them effectively, so we need quite a lot of heat. Also, quite a lot of electricity for processing machinery, cold stores. And I think the other thing we need to be aware of as a business, obviously we are non-food, so we are probably less essential. So we need to be squeaky clean. We need to be as sustainable as possible, because obviously, if we're causing carbon emissions, we need to be able to justify that. So yeah, our focus in terms of sustainability has really gone in those areas. So we've done a lot of work on biomass heating. So all of our heating for tulips now is done with biomass. We've got about 1.6 megawatts of capacity. We've also got solar PV to help with cold store loads, and water storage is the other area where we've done a lot of work. We've got a lot of glass houses, so we've got lots of roofs, which means we catch a lot of water. Obviously a very precious resource, so we make sure that we store that water and use it as effectively as we possibly can. So all of our roof water is collected, but also one of our tulips is fully hydroponic, so we generate some wastewater from the tulip operation, but we also now collect that in the reservoirs as well and use that for outdoor irrigation as well. So it's trying to be as much of a closed system on water as possible. And so yeah, so we've really sort of used that to drive that efficiency per stem. We've used all of those things in the round to try and push that efficiency and reduce the carbon emissions per stem. So that's really where it's gone. But then hand in hand with that, obviously there's been sort of the more environmental stewardship side of things. So hedge planting, tree planting, supplementary feeding, focusing on sort of key species, and looking at nest boxes. And I say, there's been some big wins there as well through habitat management, and part of the water storage element was we erected a new glass house, I think 6 or 7 years ago now. We needed to do something with the roof water because the local drainage authority don't really like you putting it into the drains unless you absolutely have to. In fact, if we wanted to put it into the local drainage system, we were going to have to pay, I think, £70,000. So we spent a bit over half of that money on building a reservoir, but we designed the reservoir specifically for environmental benefits. So we changed the design of the reservoir, probably made it marginally less efficient as a water storage reservoir, but certainly added a massive amount of benefit for wildlife. And I've had a quick look through the wildlife audit this morning. I think on a very quick count, we've got 9 red list species and 10 amber list species using that, bird species that is, using that reservoir already. And it's only going to improve as the hedges and trees grow up. So I think that's, small changes to things we were already doing, small changes to existing practice can make a big net gain.
Well, I mean, that sounds significant changes in terms of what you have achieved. That is quite something. And actually, today is World Water Day. So, Ian, you couldn't have picked a better day to really sort of highlight some of the changes that you're doing. I think the sort of the hydroponics piece is something that's really interesting. I can remember when I was at college, it was a long time ago now, I wanted to do my honours project on hydroponics, and the whole area was not defined enough. And obviously bearing in mind this was sort of early 80s. But now, I mean, goodness me, this is attention to detail, it amplified, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a massive thing for our business. Certainly, tulip production now is, well, worldwide is moving very much towards hydroponics. But it's a fantastic system. Once you've got the systems in place, that is, there are definite changes that need to happen within a business to introduce it. But once you have the system, it's a very reliable, very clean system, and extremely efficient. We're bringing tulips into a heated environment, so we need to get them through the system as quickly as possible. Using the hydroponic system we've got, we can get certain varieties. By this stage of the season, they're going through the glasshouse in 10 days. So we're bringing them in with us with a sprout of 4 to 5 centimetres, and 10 days later, we've got a flower ready for sale.
Whoa.
So it's massively efficient. Energy efficiency per stem and per unit area is out of all kilter with where we used to be.
Goodness me. So I mean, in terms of tracking the change over that time, gosh, that is transformational. Can I just sort of your other success, this whole area around power and the heating piece, I can remember from the LEAF audit that we've been doing since 1993, we used to measure farmers' energy, which was diesel, electricity and oil. And in terms of, we were doing really well, the farmers were doing brilliantly up until about 1999, when all of a sudden it kind of fell off a cliff. And the reason was we then started introducing renewables. And you're obviously talking a lot about the biomass, the solar PV and things like that. You've got glass, or is it glass or polytunnels you've got?
Some of each.
Yeah. So do you see, I've heard recently that in America, they actually now are able to put sort of some film on the glass to again attract energy or to yield energy off the glass even from there by putting a clear film. Do you think sort of technology like that's going to add even more to your efficiency?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the holy grail there really is if you can get a see-through solar panel, some sort of solar generator which lets enough light through for a growing crop, then or you can use, we're looking at a project now. We're going to be adding a lot more roof space. So I think looking at those sort of things is going to become more important. But obviously you need to. The first consideration has got to be the growing crop. You've obviously got to have enough light for the growing crop. But something like tulips, the light levels are not. They're not as sensitive to light levels as some other crops, so there may be possibilities around that in the future. And certainly later in the year, we're actually looking in some ways to reduce the amount of light coming into the glasshouse, reduce the solar gain to keep the glasshouses as cool as possible. Certainly later in the year, we end up whitewashing the glass to keep heat out of the structure.
Wow. Do you use LED lights and things like that?
No, so we don't really have any need for lighting. So from an energy point of view, that's a positive. Certainly, we're not traditionally certainly cut flower growing as we've used a lot of artificial lighting, night break lighting, those sorts of things. But luckily, our crops we don't really need that. So.
And do you think, in terms of obviously the whole challenge around trade and Brexit's been quite something? You're allowed one disadvantage, but can you give us 2 advantages or opportunities?
Well, I think if you were
belittle the challenges.
No, I think if you were doing the SWOT analysis, there's certainly more T's than O's. But we've say the opportunity for us really is all around import substitution. Cut flower sales in the UK, the figure that's banded around is about 15% domestic production. So there's 85% headroom in our market for domestic production is the way we look at that. Air freight and air freighting flowers in from around the world, both from a sustainability point of view, but also from a cost point of view, is going to come under more pressure. So there's big opportunities there. There's a number of threats, as I say, but the big opportunities really is around import substitution, but additional paperwork to import our plants and bulbs and labour sourcing are the two big negatives for us. But hopefully we can negotiate those.
Yeah, no, well, fingers crossed. And as you say, although it's not a non-food, it is obviously non-food rather. it is still important. I don't think you can ever belittle the value of a wonderful vase of cut flowers, without a doubt, Ian, for very many reasons. And I think actually one, again, you know, the gift of flowers, the gift of love, etc., is fully represented in flowers. You must make everybody's day very happy mentally, and so that must be something that you should always be aware of. And just what more do you think we could do from a Leaf perspective to support your business?
I think, you know, from our business point of view, I think we're reasonably happy with, you know, what we get from Leaf. And I think the main thing for all of us as Leaf producers and Leaf as an organisation is to just keep driving that public awareness of why we do what we do, and what makes us stand out from, you know, from other producers. Retailer buy-in is very important. I think, you know, if we can try and just drive an insistence on Leafmark accreditation, I mean, it's very much at the moment with a lot of our customers, it's very much a nice to have rather than a must have. But if we can, you know, we can just you know, push that agenda forward. I think, you know, price pressure has an impact. Some growers are not keen to go down the leaf route because they think it's going to add cost. But from our experience, it hasn't really added. You know, certainly in cut flowers, we're already a fairly heavily audited and regulated industry. We have other standards which cover a lot of the you know, the control points that we need to cover for leaf. The thing that leaf really adds, which I think is where the true value of it is the actual on farm, the practical stuff. You know, the hedgerows and the wildlife areas. The stuff that, you know, is for farmers are not very keen on shuffling around bits of paper and duplicating effort and just ticking boxes for boxes' sake. But if you've got a, you know, physical reminder on the farm every day, which is where we live, that you can see the benefit that leaf is having on the farm, that's when it really, you know, it really hits home, and that's the benefit we really see.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much indeed. Well, I know there'll be some questions, certainly. And I thank you very much, Ian. As always, you know, this whole area, the technology and the drive and the attention to detail is just at a completely different level from the discussions. You know, I've been working for Leaf now, we're celebrating 30 years. And when I think of the advancement of attention to detail, of drive, and actually of passion from the industry, really to deliver sustainability, you're making it happen, Ian. So thank you very, very much indeed. So Simon, really lovely to see you. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us as well. And your business, very different, but can you just give a little bit of an insight to our audience today in terms of Blue Skies, because it's an amazing business.
Thank you very much, Caroline, and hello everyone. So yeah, Blue Skies, we're a fresh fruit processing business. We make fresh cut products, plus now fresh cut fruit products, plus now fresh fruit ice cream, which you can possibly see behind me, and freshly squeezed juices, which we supply to retailers all over the world, including Waitrose and partners who I know are big supporters of Leaf. And we believe fundamentally in adding value at source. So this means we aim to process the finished product in the countries where the fruit grows. Because we believe it's a more equitable way to do it, we create jobs, transfer skills and technology, and because it allows us to deliver a fresher, better fruit product at the end of the day. So yeah, that's Blue Skies. It's about.
Can you just actually describe the range of fruits that you have and where you're growing as well, Simon?
So we've got facilities in Ghana, Egypt, South Africa, Brazil, Senegal, Ivory Coast, the UK, and we've just opened a new factory in Benin. And we supply a range of different fruit products, whether that's pineapple, papaya, mango, pomegranate, coconut, melon, and all in different sizes and formats. Plus, obviously, we're looking to diversify into new product areas, as you can see, through using all the fruit to make things like ice cream and freshly squeezed juice and other product ideas we're looking to develop as well. So it's about using all of it and essentially not leaving anything to waste. And anything that we can't consume goes to our compost site, where it takes 8 weeks to break down into more nutrient-rich soil, which then goes back to our farm. So essentially, we're a fruit processing business. Where LEAF comes in essentially is that we support a lot of growers in terms to be able to supply us, to be able to grow their businesses, and work to the various different standards that are needed. So we've got an agronomy team who work round the clock to provide the training, the agronomic support, to be able to enable those farmers to grow. And LEAF is we first got LEAF certification back in 2008, I think it was. So 13 years ago, and we were the first to get a group certification. I think some group, it's got option 2 certification for a group of farmers, and we were the first to get it in LEAF certification in Africa, I believe, which is obviously something we're very proud of. So on a day-to-day basis, LEAF helps us in terms of to support our farmers by recognizing really the importance of continuing to look after the soil, water bodies, wildlife, the natural habitats, something which was always happening, but it's about actually demonstrating the impact of that and the benefit of that to continue doing that. So yeah, that's really been our involvement with LEAF from the beginning, and it's been a fantastic journey helping our farmers to grow with LEAF.
So I have to say, although I've not visited your farms, we've done a lot of work, particularly with Waitrose actually, and DFID as well, with your growers, and we learn a lot from your farmers, as well as obviously I hope that the sharing of ideas. And I think for us, one of the really important parts is that sustainability has no borders whatsoever, and the more we work globally, the better it's going to be. And from your perspective, what do you think's been your greatest achievements?
Well, certainly being the first to get LEAF certification for a group of farmers and in Africa is something we're hugely proud of. But I'd also say most recently, I think where we've been able to achieve, where we've been able to develop a new product, ice cream product, using fruit from LEAF certified farms. So we're using fresh coconut, which I believe we're first in the world to be able to produce a dairy-free ice cream using fresh coconut made at source, which is coming from our LEAF certified farms in Ghana. So we make the finished product there, and of course it's something which we're hugely proud of, and the farmers who are involved in providing those raw materials are also very proud of us as well. So that's a big achievement, because ultimately, if it enables us to develop new products, sustainable products, which can help the business to grow sustainably, to diversify, which obviously enables us to reduce our waste, and helps us also to reduce our carbon emissions, because we can send this product by ship. Most of our products are fresh cut fruit products. We use albeit passenger aircraft, British Airways or KLM, to get our products to market. But this is one part of our strategy to enable us to diversify into new areas where we're not reliant necessarily on air freight, as well as looking at other things such as technology that can help us to extend the shelf life of our products, to become more efficient, to develop local markets as well. So there's lots of different projects in the pipeline, but it's all part of the same. It's all part of the one sort of our business model, essentially, which is around obviously balancing the needs of people and the environment for now, but also for future generations. So yeah, sorry, a long answer to your question, but yeah, our ice cream is something we're very proud of.
Good, and I think it's what's it actually called? Is it called Blue Skies Ice Cream?
Yeah, it's called Blue Skies
Okay.
ice cream. You can buy it on from Amazon Fresh, Ocado, and limited number of Waitrose stores. But watch this space; you'll hopefully be able to get it from. Well, hoping to get more listings this year too. So
Good luck with that. And I think you raise, whilst Ian had a little pop at air freight, I have to say, that is one of the challenges. What that you mentioned about this importance of balance. And trade-offs, because there's nothing better than actually the bioavailability of nutrients in fresh produce, and your sources are great for stuffing children and young people with nutrients. I mean, that mango and your pineapple, I have to say, is absolutely to die for. And in terms of really trying to address some of these trade-offs, that's interesting that you're starting to look at shipping, but where do you see and what's happened from your perspective about some of the challenges around the trade deals at the moment? And again, I'll allow you only one disadvantage. I'd like to see more of the opportunities.
Oh right. Well, if we're talking about the B word, then I think for us, because we export a lot to Europe from Africa and South America. It hasn't affected us so much in terms of both opportunities and challenges. We've seen disruption for products that are made in our UK facility and exported into the UK, and I think as alluding to what Ian was talking about, complexity, paperwork, confusion about or let's say lack of clarity around the rules of origin, which I think many LEAF members may also be familiar with. So it's difficult to talk about the opportunities, but from our perspective, obviously it's great that we've managed to get over the line, because there's been a lot of uncertainty in recent years about what's going to happen, whether there's going to be no deal, what's going to happen to the exchange rate, what's going to happen to how the flow of trade, and I think actually to get beyond that point where we're not sort of worrying anymore, or actually adapting, there's a bit more certainty as to what the future has. That in a sense it enables us to move on, which I think is one way of looking at it from a sort of positive perspective.
Yeah, no, decisions are critical at the end of the day. Whether they're the right or the wrong decision doesn't matter, as long as the decision, therefore there is a baseline to move forward. I think one of the things that always strikes me with your wonderful growers, and we've done a lot of videos, they did Online Farm Sunday in September, and the enthusiasm, the passion, and of course the knowledge that they have, as you've said, about their soil, their environment, the fact that they're hungry for the market, is something that I always think is so infectious. And whilst Ian was talking about some of the work that he's, the brilliant work he's doing on trees and hedges and boxes and things like that, I would imagine from your perspective, your environment and your biodiversity is completely different. Are there challenges and advantages, and are you seeing the sort of the opportunity for the hand-in-hand piece with the biodiversity as well?
Yeah, I think this is an area we're very passionate about, and actually something we're keen to do more on, and particularly with LEAF, and this is where LEAF could perhaps help us as well. I mean, we are in obviously parts of the world where there is a lot of biodiversity, and LEAF has obviously, as I said, helped us to demonstrate the benefits and the importance of looking after biodiversity, as well as all the other aspects of sustainable farming. But I think it's vitally important actually to look at how we can educate more people beyond just the farmers that are involved in the LEAF system about why it's important to look after wildlife, why it's important not to cut down trees, because if you look in some of the countries where we're working, you see deforestation happening. You see some practices like I don't know if it's something you're familiar with, but it's called sand winning in Ghana, where you see areas of land that have where you've got agriculture, sometimes subsistence agriculture, but the soil, the topsoil and the sand is essentially taken away to be used for construction projects. And then the soil is supposed to be returned to enable the land to recover, but often it isn't. It goes to beautify the homes of people living in urban areas, and you see I guess a sort of gradual urbanization, and you see as the towns and cities expand, you see the decline of decent land and good agricultural land, but also the loss of natural habitats. And I think of course, we understand the importance of it, and our farmers understand the importance of biodiversity and looking after biodiversity. But actually, beyond that, I think we've got to do more to raise awareness and educate people as to why we need to protect our environment. I think from a UK perspective, I think you could argue perhaps we are beginning to get the message with people like David Attenborough and Greta Thunberg to an extent, but does that massive message get across everywhere? I'm not sure it does, because we still see habitat biodiversity loss happening around us. And I think I've forgotten what the what the quote was, but I think was reading that we've not achieved a single. We've not met a single UN target on biodiversity or stemming the destruction of wildlife and the natural world at all. So I think that's obviously something that needs to be addressed. So yeah, in answer to your question, there's a huge amount that's going on with leaf farms. There is a lot our farmers are doing. There's a lot that we're trying to do. I've not mentioned our School Farm of the Year competition, which we do as part of the foundation. Of course, because we've got our foundation, which we work with Waitrose and Albert Heijn in the Netherlands. We've been doing that for over 10 years now, done 100 different projects, things like building classroom blocks for schools, providing water for communities that don't have potable water, or sanitation for where there's just not basic things like toilets available. But we've also built this, we've also developed this School Farm of the Year competition, which gets students who are no longer interested in agriculture because they are perhaps more interested in pursuing a career in IT or accountancy or politics, but actually re-engaging young people in agriculture, because there's been sort of a decline in interest in it over the years, but not just engaging in agriculture per se, but also sustainable agriculture, actually how to run a business, a farming business sustainably, so that it's generating an income, but also in a way that's looking after the environment, and you're also doing it whilst engaging with the communities around you as well. So sorry, I've rambled on quite a long time.
I think what you're talking about though, Simon, is so critical in terms of the infrastructure. I love the fact that you said, for us, it's the adding value at source. And I think every farmer here in the UK and across the globe would love to see that pre-farm gate added value being such a core part, and the dedication that you as a business have to also deliver in terms of it isn't just the farming, but the importance of the education, the water quality, the soil quality, the biodiversity, growing schools, and in addition to that, AIDS clinics and things like that. And I think, and the health responsibility. So there is a huge social awareness that you carry really within the business as well, that's so important.
Yes, no, absolutely. Well, I think it's about, I think I mentioned it before, it's about balancing the needs of people and the environment. And we've got, our business is built on a model which we call our joint effort enterprise, which is essentially based on three principles. One is diversity, one is about equality, but it's also about profit. But profit not just in financial terms, but generating a positive return for the people and the environment, because you need people, because they are who are going to be leading the business in the future, and you need the environment to be in a good condition, because that's what's providing you with the fruit that goes into your products. And a key part of that is our culture, and our culture is fundamentally when I talked about equality, our culture is about mutual respect for each other, but it's also about social equality and actually recognizing we're all important, we've all got a part to play, and really enabling that entrepreneurial spirit in each and every one of us to go above and beyond, to make a difference, to actually create, so that people feel that they can make a difference, they can come up with ideas and implement them, and they and that's what drives change, and part of and our culture is essentially what underpins our sustainability model, our strategy, which we call our blueprint, and our blueprint is closely aligned to IFM principles. It's about setting objectives and targets, whether it's about waste or energy consumption, or whether it's about biodiversity, which is one of our top priorities, or whether it's about emissions. Certainly, we're aware of our emissions. We want to do more to understand where the big impacts are, and then to reduce them. And obviously, what we're doing around with communities as well. So it encompasses all of those different aspects of sustainability, and puts us on a path to be able to enable the business to endure forever, ultimately, but also in harmony with the environment around us and the communities that we work with too.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. And I think those are all values that are very core to Ian's business as well. So Sam, I think we've got some questions from the audience. So I thank you very much indeed, Simon, and thank you, Ian, as well, because golly, I mean, you've raised some really critical areas around. I love your soft power, Ian, but I think actually you've got pretty strong soft power, I have to say. And I love your target setting is just unbelievable in terms of that whole practical aspect and the aspiration and the drive. And I think, from what you're saying, Simon, as well, this adding value at source, the really driving change and getting the ownership, because yes, if we own something, we have a desire to make it better all the time. So Simon, I'm sure we've got some questions.
We do indeed. I am going to try running this poll first, because I think we've got it back up and running again now, which is good news. So we've got a couple that I'm going to submit. Yeah, before I do that, just in the meantime, yes, thank you to those who have submitted questions so far. If you do have a question that you'd like to ask any of our panel, please submit it via the chat function. If you just click on chat at the bottom of your screen and then type your question in there. But we're going to do our first poll now. So let me try and launch this and see what happens. So a question should pop up on your screen now saying, do you knowingly buy LEAF Marque produce? So if I could get you all to answer that question, I'll just give it a minute or two while we submit. And don't worry if you say no, we won't haul you over the coals. Well, I won't. Yeah, I can't speak on behalf of Caroline, unfortunately. Okay, so yeah, we're looking about half and half at the moment, 60-40 towards no. Can we get any more yeses in there, I wonder? Okay, so out of the 34 participants who have answered, 21 have said no, 13 have said yes. So that's 62-38. That's not too bad, is it? Are we happy with that? Could it be? Well, it could always be better, couldn't it? But that's obviously something for to work on. But
an interesting perspective, because actually 43% of UK fruit and veg is LEAF Marque certified. Indeed, if you eat leeks, then chances are that they will be LEAF Marque certified, as well as watercress and beetroot. So it's the unknowingly piece as well that's critical in there. So yeah.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. Right, okay, so we'll move on to the next question. I'll just share those results quickly. So there you have it, 60-40. That's not too bad. Just going to move on to the next one. Oh, no, that's the same one. I do apologize. Right, next question. What does sustainable farming look like to you? And obviously you can pick as many of these as you like. So I'm going to launch that now. There's lots of different options. Feel free to click on as many as you like, including all of the above at the bottom. So I will give you all a minute or two to submit your answers. And again, we're looking at a good split here. All of the above at 68, 70. And I think that's pretty much everyone answered now, 36 out of 39. So 67% have said all of the above. We've got a few there. So better soil management is in second place there. And we've got IFM and improving biodiversity in there as well. So again, a nice mix there. So let me just share those results. And there you have it. 68% say all of the above. What are your thoughts on that, Caroline? Does that look about right?
No, I have to say I answered those and I ticked all of them and all of the above. So I don't know whether that might I don't know if anybody else did that. So apologies.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine.
But I think that, you know, that's very interesting. And I think, again, this whole pressure on the importance of soil and getting the mix and match, because farmers work at such a range of juggling so many things on any one day.
Absolutely. Right. So thank you very much all for taking part in that. And we will now move on to the question and answer session. So I'm just going to quickly unmute Ian and Simon just so that they're both available. The first question I've got here, this is probably more directed towards Simon. How has the low carbon diet trend affected you? Do you think it's something that will become more popular?
Well, I think it's something that we are increasingly aware of, and it's what has, obviously with our business model, it's something that we've been thinking of for a long time. And you're back in when was it? 2008, when I think air miles or food miles became a big hot topic with the Soil Association. Actually, there was a I don't know if you remember, there was a consultation on whether air freighted organics should be banned, and we took part in a study, or we were part of a study which was looking at the full sort of social, economic, and environmental impacts, just looking at the balance of that. And I think the argument shifted then, because actually there was a negative sort of social impact to if we were to ban air freighted organics, because of the positive social and economic benefits of models such as ours. But also looking at the full life cycle analysis is not necessarily as black and white, let's say, as air freight or high air food miles equals bad, when you take into account how food waste is managed, or how waste is managed. For instance, if you've got a lot of food waste going to landfill, you've got high methane going into the atmosphere, which can obviously have a negative impact, a carbon impact in itself. Plus, obviously, taking into account we're not transporting waste, we're transporting finished product in passenger airlines that are flying anyway. So there's different sort of impacts that had to be taken into account when we looked at it then. But now, sort of fast forward to where we are now, and obviously it's becoming a subject which is being scrutinized more and more. And rightly so. We are doing even more now to look at what our carbon footprint is. So we're working with the Carbon Trust. We've developed a carbon calculator to continually monitor and assess what our emissions are, and develop a plan to be able to reduce them. And like many businesses are doing as well, develop a net zero roadmap. And that is certainly something we are keen to do. Our plan is to do it this year to make sure it's a credible roadmap, that it's based on science-based principles, and working with all our stakeholders and the partners that are involved as well, of course, including the airlines, including the packaging companies, to work together to achieve that. So yeah, I think it's something, in answer to the question, carbon-based diets is something we need to be increasingly aware of, and it's something that we are actively involved in addressing, and obviously need to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the future.
Thank you very much, Simon. And I think, Ian, this possibly does cover in your area as well, particularly around carbon neutrality, which, you know, a lot of people, a lot of businesses are trying to achieve. I mean, what is your business doing to try and reduce its carbon footprint?
Well, as I said, I think we've seen our main drivers of emissions are heating and energy. So that's the two areas that we've really focused on. Let's say the switch to biomass and solar PV. But then looking further forward, we've got other energy uses and ways to reduce emissions. So we're looking at rationalising supply chains. So as much as possible, customers are now collecting product direct from farm, rather than shipping it from here to a third party, then into a distribution company. So that's sort of shortening the chain by one step, which obviously reduces vehicle movements. And there are still processes within the business that are using fossil fuel. We still do quite some soil sterilisation, which uses fossil fuels, and we're looking to get that switched onto biomass as well, and looking to move more of our production into hydroponic systems to eliminate the need for that. So there's we're part of the way through the journey, but there's certainly still more steps to take.
I think, Ian, you raise a very important statement there in terms of trying to do away with fossil fuel at the end of the day. So the biggies are obviously, as you say, diesels and oils and things like that, but also concrete seems to be the other one. And I always think it's really cool. There's some great work going on at the University of Exeter where they're using miscanthus to make miscrete as an alternative to cement, which could be quite an interesting one in terms of plant-based concretes, which could be another drive in this area.
Yeah, definitely. Concrete at the moment is a necessary evil, I'm afraid. Certainly in our business, we have an increasing, the project that we're looking at currently is going to necessitate quite a bit more concrete. Unfortunately, looking at hydroponics and automated systems, the base of those is going to have to be concrete at this stage.
Thank you all. Simon, just going back to your answer, a question's just come in the chat about the carbon calculator for air freight. Could you just explain a bit more about it, and is it freely available?
Well, it's something we've developed ourselves with the Carbon Trust, and it's actually it's tailored specifically to our supply chain. So we're looking at everything from obviously the farms right the way through to the manufacturing, and then looking at what's often known as sort of scope 3 emissions. So our when we're working with the airlines, what their emissions are, what the emissions of the materials that we use are. So what I would say is a lot of the emissions factors that are used, well, not all of them, but some of them are certainly available publicly or from the government through the I can't remember I can't remember the department that I think is BEIS.
Yes.
Yeah. So and that's actually very helpful because it was a good starting point for us to develop our calculator. So we put kind of the fundamentals in place, and then we work with the Carbon Trust to develop that into a way which was can give us we can be confident that we've got a credible calculator. We've tried to make it as simple as possible, because the danger of this can be that it can be extremely, you can develop something which is extremely complicated and difficult to use, but because of the nature of our business, we've got different sites in different parts of the world. We need to be able to make it as simple as possible, essentially. So that's what we've done. But the key thing is getting those emissions factors, which was a good starting point.
Just out of curiosity, Ian, what tool do you use? Because there's some 67 carbon footprinting tools, so it's making sure it's right for your business at the end of the day.
We use a carbon footprinting tool that was sort of an industry developed one for cut flowers, which is, but it's several years old actually. So I'm looking at switching onto a newer tool, to be honest. But yeah, it's the one we've been using year after year, so it does allow very accurate comparison year to year, which is the benefit of it at the moment. When we're auditing annually, we've got a consistent standard that we're auditing against. But I think it's something that we do need to look at. Obviously, it's with the shift to renewables. There's going to be possibly a need for that calculator to be improved.
I think I think from our perspective, we feel it's really important people get on the journey of using a tool as a starting point is the critical thing, and you've been doing that. It must be now some 6 years or so, is it?
More than that. It's, yeah, so, I mean, we've used it for other audits for probably 15 years, so we've got records going back a long way with various versions of that tool. So, but yeah, it's, you know, it's certainly we're on the journey. But as I say, I wouldn't say that tool is perfect, because obviously there's always ways you can tailor it better to your individual business and individual operations.
I learnt just on Friday, actually, that the UK has reduced its carbon footprint by 13% over the last year. So the lack of movement has somehow made everything a little bit more efficient as us as individuals. Sam?
Yes, every cloud does have a silver lining, doesn't it? Question for Ian here. You talked about how popular your reservoir was with wildlife. Does it offer any other opportunities for diversification or public activities?
The one that we're talking about, probably not, but it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, there are other diversifications we have looked at, possibly some fish farming or some raising coarse fish to then sell on. We've got a guy locally who was interested in doing that, and we're potentially going to look at that. But yeah, there's certainly other. I mean, another friend of mine, the thing we've looked at is floating solar, so floating solar panels on a reservoir, which has got, well, two benefits really. It prevents evaporation, so you're not losing any water to evaporation, but also you're not tying up, you know, valuable land with solar panels. So yeah, if you've got large reservoir areas, if you can design an efficient system to float solar panels on it, then that's another potential diversification where you're, you know, not only benefiting your water storage, but you're also generating free solar electric. But obviously that's probably not the best thing if you're a duck or a moorhen trying to use
that kind of work?
there's a trade-off to be had there, but certainly no, it's something else that we have looked at and is an option. One of the reservoirs we've got will have to become significantly larger if we carry out the development we're planning to do, and at that stage it may be that we could have a floating solar installation on part of it.
You could find that the ducks take to nesting on it as well as a sort of a compromise.
Apparently not. I think they've enough of a slope that they slide off.
Oh, I see. No wild swimming then, Ian?
We haven't done as yet, no, and probably not close enough to access for that to be, but I know it's very much a growing trend, isn't it? It's everywhere you look, there's people going wild swimming. So yeah, something possibly for the future. Yeah, if we can get people there, and yeah, it might be an option.
As somebody that tried wild swimming for the first time last year, I can thoroughly recommend it. It's fantastic, definitely. One more question, I think, just to wrap things up. And obviously, this is all related to LEAF Marque Week, so this is going to be about LEAF Marque. So, a question for both of you: what's your greatest achievement since becoming LEAF Marque certified? And we'll go to Simon first, maybe.
Oh, well, I mean, it's similar to the question Caroline asked before. I mean, but I guess since becoming LEAF Marque certified, I think it's you know, seeing LEAF, you know, develop, particularly sort of with our agronomic teams supporting it, and the sort of the level of training and awareness that goes with that too. I mean, we've got a full-time agronomy team who work, as I think I mentioned, round the clock supporting our growers, carrying out workshops, training on farm, and also at our factories where they all come together. And I think kind of just seeing our farmers and ourselves going on that journey and learning about the importance of sustainable agriculture, learning about those IFM principles and its impact and its benefit, I think has been something that you know something we're very proud of, and has obviously been a great achievement in terms of the way that we've managed to keep that going and work with LEAF to drive that awareness and education. So yeah, I don't know if that's that answers the question well, but I certainly see that as something we're very proud of.
Yeah.
Ian?
So yeah, again, to say I meant to Caroline about the carbon reduction, but I think the other big thing for us, probably the thing we're, you know, one of our biggest achievements is the hedge planting. I haven't got the exact figures to hand. I haven't got the audit here, but I think we've probably got 5 or 6 times the length of hedgerow on the farm now that we had probably 10 years ago. We're sort of in Fenland, so we are famous for big skies, but one man's big skies is another man's featureless plain with not a lot of habitat. So I think it's important, you know, we're not restoring old hedgerows, we're adding new ones, but it is very important linking up areas of habitat around the farm. Hedges are a fantastic resource, and so we've done an awful lot of hedge planting, and we've got plans to continue that. So I think that's been a real achievement over the last 10 years.
And can I just add to my point as well? Sorry, I probably not allowed to do this, but I was just going on to that point about extending those training and raising awareness. It's certainly something that we're hoping to do to extend to our farmers in Benin, where we've just opened a factory there. So certainly LEAF certification is on the cards for our farmers there, and if we can do the same in Benin as we've done in Ghana, where there's a huge opportunity to grow the business, and where we've already implemented a lot of really exciting technologies to increase efficiency and reduce our impact, then I think it's very exciting.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And yes, yeah, more than happy for you to finish on that note, Simon, so that's great, thank you. Yeah, and thank you both to Simon and Ian for joining us this morning, taking time out of your busy schedules. It's been a brilliant start to Zoom into Leaf Marque week, and yes, we're very grateful for you being with us today, so thank you. And thank you all for joining us as well. We hope you've enjoyed today's session. It's been really, really interesting. And we hope you can join us for as many, if not all, of the remaining surgeries that we've got for the rest of the week. If you are unaware of what's going on for the rest of the week, I've just shared a link in the chat, which gives information about all the different events that we've got going on this week. Tomorrow, we will be talking about delivering a sustainable food future through the supply chain, and we'll be joined by James Bailey, Executive Director at Waitrose and Partners, and also Mia Hartwell, Sustainability Manager at Jordan. So we hope you can join us for that. But in the meantime, thank you to Simon and Ian for joining us today, and thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you again at some point this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much, Ian. Thanks, Simon. That was brilliant, both of you.
Thank you.